I had it running the entire time. Okay, so in 5, 4, 3.
In case you think that it takes special talent to tell a story, you have to know that we're constantly telling stories. We are telling stories about what's showing up in front of us. You just have to kind of tap in to realize exactly what you're doing. Our brains, our minds want to make sense of things. And so we tell ourselves stories to help us make sense of our experiences. So I'm a professor, I've been teaching a long time, and I like to think that I'm over my ego, but I certainly am not. And if I have students in the class who are chit-chatting, or they're on their phones, or they appear to not be paying attention, I take it very personally. Well, it was a recent semester, and there was a young man in my class, and I'll call him Lego Boy. Now, why am I calling him Lego Boy? You ever see, did you see the Lego movie, where you see those little Lego characters, right? And you know, they have perfectly little round heads and hair. It's just very defined hair, parted on the side, very slick, very shiny hair. Well, this kid had that kind of hair, right? He looked like a little Lego character. He has this perfectly round head, giant eyes, and this parted on the side hair. And he couldn't sit still in class. He was constantly chit-chatting, shuffling, talking, distracting everyone around him, and I took it very personally, and I was just so annoyed with this kid. Like, he has no respect for me. He has no respect for the subject matter. How dare he? And he was always giggling, so I assumed he was laughing at me. So my ego is inflamed, right? I'm just so annoyed, and every week this kid just made me angrier and angrier and angrier. This chit-chatting and his apparent disrespect for me. Well, I teach religion, and I teach morality, and I teach life lessons, so my attitude toward this kid was bothering me. I felt like I was judging him. Why didn't I just, you know, speak to him? Tell him how I felt. You know, scold him in a gentle way. Instead of, you know, judging him and being angry at him week after week after week. So I had it in my heart and my mind, tonight's the night I'm going to confront Lego Boy. I'm going to tell him how I feel. I'm going to say, you know, it really hurts me, the way you talk in class, the way you're laughing at me, you know, how would you feel if I came to your job and I laughed at you and you're trying to work. I had my whole speech planned. Show up for class, and I'm a little early, so you know, we're waiting outside the classroom for the previous class to leave. And who's there, waiting outside the class? Lego Boy. So here I am outside the class, and there he is, and I'm like, all right, it's time to have the talk. Well, he sees me, his eyes light up, and he comes walking over to me. I'm like, well, okay, this is interesting. This is an interesting twist to the story. So he comes over and he said, Professor! I'm like, Brian. I didn't call him Lego Boy. And he said, oh, I just want to let you know how much I'm really enjoying this class. My class? He's like, yeah, your class. I love your class so much. And that video clip that you showed about, now, you have to understand, this kid is speaking, he is a very youthful, childlike way of speaking. He's just the most sincere kid ever. And he's telling me how much he loves my class. And I really, really love that you show like superhero clips in class, and I especially love Spider-Man. And like, so everything that I was about to scold him for, everything I was about to say to this kid just evaporated with this kid's exuberance and absolute love for me and what I was teaching. I'm like, oh yeah, sure. And I said, well, to tell you the truth, I was going to give you a little scolding tonight. He's like, why? I said, well, you know, you're a little disruptive. You're constantly chatting, you're constantly talking. It appears that you're laughing at me. He's like, I was never laughing at you. And then I kind of felt foolish for the whole thing. He says, well, I don't want you to think that of me. I'm just, I don't know, I was really excited and I don't even realize that I was doing it. I'm so sorry. I want to make it up to you. I'm like, okay, this is really just going a lot better than I had even expected or planned. And he says, let me write an essay. I'm like, okay, I'm going to write an essay about Spider-Man. I'm like, okay, remember it's religion class. He's like, I'm going to write an essay about Spider-Man and Jesus. I'm like, you couldn't make this up if I tried. So the next week, sure enough, this kid came back. He had written this beautiful, heartfelt essay about how Spider-Man is a lot like Jesus because he sacrifices himself for the good of others. Now, I'm reading this kid's essay. Tears are in my eyes. I cannot believe how it went from me believing this kid was disrespecting me to this kid writing a heartfelt essay about Jesus Christ. Now, I'd like to tell you that the kid's behavior in class got better. But no, he was still chit-chatty. You know, he was still giggly. His behavior didn't change at all. But what changed was my story about him. Instead of the made-up, ego-driven, offended story that I had in the beginning about this kid, I now saw him in light of who he really was. Sincere, sweet, enthusiastic, maybe just, you know, a little too enthusiastic in class, but certainly not disrespecting me, certainly not, you know, a kid who was misbehaving. So there's the story we make up. There's a better story, probably, if you look a little deeper into it. But just remember, there's the thing in itself, there's the person in itself, there's the event, there's stuff that happens, and then the story we make up about it. What story are we choosing to believe? One that empowers us?
And cut.